My name is Megan Callahan, and the moment I realized my family didn't love me, they leased me, was the night my mother stood up at my niece's birthday dinner, raised her glass, and announced to everyone that I'd promised to pay for my brother's new house repairs, without ever asking me first. I remember the candlelight trembling in the restaurant's glass holders, the smell of ketchup and fryer oil, the little plastic crown on my niece's head, and my mum's voice sweet, proud, loud, like she was bragging about a donation she'd already spent. "Of course, Megan will help," she said, smiling at my brother Kyle. "She always does. She doesn't even have kids. What else is she spending money on?" Everyone laughed like it was harmless. Kyle laughed too, and I laughed with them, because I'd been trained to smile through being used. But inside, something cracked so cleanly, it felt like relief. Because it wasn't just the money, it was the entitlement, the assumption, the way my whole life had become a communal pantry open whenever they were hungry, and blamed whenever it was empty. And that night, I finally understood the rule in my family. Love wasn't something you received. Love was something you provided. And if you stopped providing, you didn't deserve love at all. So I stopped, and watching them unravel after that, it was ugly. But it was also the first time my life belonged to me. I grew up in Overland Park, Kansas, in a beige split-level house, where the carpet always smelled faintly like dog and laundry detergent. We were a normal Midwestern family, on the outside church on Sundays, casseroles for neighbours, family game night, posted on Facebook twice a year. My dad, Ron, worked at an auto parts distribution centre. My mum, Cheryl, ran the household like a manager with a clipboard. Schedules, meals, moods. My brother Kyle was the golden boy, athletic, funny, always just going through a phase whenever he messed up. And me? I was the solution. If Kyle forgot his homework, I reminded him. If Kyle got suspended, I smoothed it over with Mum. If Kyle broke something, I cleaned it up. If Kyle needed support, I was told to be mature. I learned early that being the good daughter didn't mean being loved more. It meant being needed more. By the time I was 16, I could tell what kind of night it would be by the way Mum closed the fridge. Hard close meant tension. Soft close meant we were allowed to breathe. And Kyle could turn the whole house into a weather system. If he was happy, we were warm. If he was angry, we all froze. After high school, Kyle floated. Community college for a semester. Dropped out. A construction job. Quit. A delivery job. Fired. Every time, my parents spun it into a story about potential, bad luck, unfair bosses, people not appreciating him. When I left for college at Kansas State, I felt guilty for being excited. My mum cried the night before move-in and held my hands like I was leaving for war. "Promise you won't forget us," she said. I promised, because I was 20 and didn't understand the trap hidden inside that sentence. I got a degree in accounting and a job in Kansas City at a mid-sized logistics company. Nothing glamorous, but stable. Benefits. A 401. A paycheck that didn't disappear the moment it arrived. I bought my first used car on my own, then a small condo. Then I built something I'd never had in childhood, a sense of safety that didn't depend on anyone else staying calm. And that's when my family started showing up with open hands. At first it was little things. Can you spot us until payday? Kyle's car needs tyres. Your dad's hours got cut. Just this once. It never stayed once. I sent money because it felt easier than arguing. Because I still thought love meant sacrifice. Because every time I hesitated, my mother's voice sharpened like a knife. So money matters more than family now. She could make generosity sound like morality, and boundaries sound like sin. Kyle learned that too. He texts me late at night. "You're the only one who gets me." Then the next line, "Can you Venmo $200? And I'd do it, because I didn't want to be the villain in their story. Then Kyle met Brittany. Brittany was all lashes and confidence and, I'm just being real. She worked in a salon and had the kind of social media life that looked expensive even when it wasn't. She moved in with Kyle within 3 months. Within 6, she was pregnant. Suddenly Kyle wasn't just Kyle. Kyle was a father, and in my family, that meant something sacred. My mum acted like Brittany's pregnancy was a miracle sent to redeem Kyle's entire history. My dad started calling Kyle son, in this heavy, emotional way that made me feel like I was watching a commercial. Brittany leaned into it. She'd sit on my parents' couch with her hands on her belly and say things like, "We're just trying to build a stable future for the baby." Stable future. Translation. Someone else pays. When my niece Addison was born, the entire family orbit shifted. Every conversation, became about the baby. Every problem became a crisis, because there's a child involved. Kyle's job situation didn't improve. It got worse. He'd show up to work late, get fired, blame the manager. Brittany would post inspirational quotes about protecting my peace, while Kyle sat in my parents' garage playing video games at 2 p.m. And somehow, my name kept coming up. Megan has a steady job, my mum would say. Megan's good with money, my dad would add. Megan would want Addison to have everything, Brittany would chirp, smiling at me like I was a walking diaper fund. It was never, "Are you okay?" Never, "Do you have your own plans?" Just, "We know you'll handle it." I didn't realize how deep it had gone until Thanksgiving at my parents' house, the one where the turkey was dry, the football game was loud, and Kyle cornered me by the pantry like he was making a drug deal. He stood too close. His breath smelled like beer even though it was noon. "Hey," he said, voice soft. "You're doing good, right?" I already knew what was coming. "I'm fine," I said. He nodded like he'd heard a number. "Cool. So, Brittany wants to put Addison in that preschool program. It's like early learning. It's good for her." "That's great," I said, hoping he'd stop. He didn't. "It's $450 a month," he said quickly. "But it's an investment, you know? For her future." I stared at him. "Kyle, I'm not paying for your child's preschool." His eyes widened like I'd slapped him. Wow. I felt my mum's presence before I saw her. She appeared behind him, dish towel in hand, like she'd been summoned by conflict. "What's going on?" she asked, voice already defensive. Kyle turned to her like a witness. "Megan won't help." My mum's face changed, not into concern, into offense. "Megan," she said, in that tone, the one that meant I was disappointing her. "It's for Addison." I looked at my mother and felt this old exhaustion rise in me. "Then you help." My mum's lips thinned. "We already do everything." I almost laughed. "You mean you house them? And that's a lot," she snapped. "You don't understand. You live your little single life and think you're stressed." My little single life, like my job didn't matter, because it didn't come with a husband and a baby. Kyle leaned in, voice sharp now. "You're selfish." I felt my heart beat in my throat. "I'm not selfish. I'm tired." My dad called from the living room. "Everything okay in there?" My mum forced a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Fine." Then she leaned closer to me and hissed, "Don't embarrass us on Thanksgiving." That was the real priority. Not fairness, not my limits, not Kyle's responsibility, just image. I swallowed my rage and went back out to the table, smiling like a woman who wasn't being slowly drained. After that, the requests escalated. The daycare, the car payment, the overdue electric bill, a temporary phone plan, a small loan that became a monthly expectation. I started getting messages from Brittany now, too. Not even polite. "Addison needs winter coats. Can you order them? We're short on rent. Just cover it and we'll pay back. Don't make this a thing. It's for the baby." Everything was for the baby. Even Kyle's new truck was for the baby because we need something safe. Safe. As if the danger in their life wasn't the way they refused to grow up. I told myself I could keep doing it because I was stable, because I was capable, because I didn't want Addison to suffer. And that's how they got me. They used my love for a child to hold a knife to my boundaries. The breaking point started as a small, humiliating moment. My mum called me one Tuesday morning while I was in the office parking lot, coffee in hand, mentally prepping for a budget meeting. "Megan," she said, breathless, "I need you to be calm." I leaned against my steering wheel. "What happened?" "Kyle's account is overdrawn, and the bank is going to bounce the rent check." I closed my eyes. "So, he needs money. He needs help," she corrected, like words mattered more than reality. "And Brittany is upset. Addison can't be in an unstable environment." I said nothing. My mum took my silence as permission. "I told them you'd cover it," she said quickly. My stomach dropped. "You told them what?" "I told them you'd cover it," she repeated, firmer. "Because I didn't want to fight, and you always handle things." My voice went cold. "You volunteered my money." "Megan," she said, like I was the unreasonable one. "It's family." I felt something in my chest tighten hard. "Don't do that. Don't use that word like a weapon," she sighed dramatically. "Fine. Then be the person who lets a baby get evicted." That sentence was a punch. I gripped the phone so hard, my knuckles hurt. In my head, I saw Addison's face, her sticky hands, her little laugh, her trusting eyes. and I hated my family for making that my responsibility. "I'll do it," I whispered. "Thank you," my mum said instantly, relief flooding her voice. "I knew you would." She hung up before I could change my mind. I sat in my car, staring at the dashboard, and thought, they don't even ask anymore. They just assign. That week, I paid the rent, and the late fee, and the overdraft fee because Carl's account was a mess. Then Friday came. My dad called. "Megs," he said gently, "your mum mentioned, if you're sending money anyway, could you also cover the car insurance this month?" Kyle got a notice. I laughed, one short, bitter sound. "Are you serious? It's just a tough stretch," he said, soothing. "He's trying. Kyle was always trying. Trying was their favorite excuse, because it sounded like effort without requiring results. I said no. It was the first real no I'd said in years, and my dad's silence on the line was immediate and heavy. "Megan," he said slowly, "don't start doing that. We need you steady, like I was a utility service." I hung up shaking. That Sunday, I drove to my parents' house for Addison's birthday dinner at a family restaurant. Balloons, kids' menu, cheap cake. I went because I love my niece. I went because I didn't want to punish her for their behavior. And that's when my mother made her announcement, the Megan promised toast. Everyone's laughter, Kyle's grin, Brittany's satisfied little nod like a deal had closed. I stared at my mother across that table and realized, with perfect clarity, that my family didn't see me as a person with limits. They saw me as an extension cord. Plug in, pull power, toss it back in the drawer. I didn't argue there. Not yet. I waited until after dinner, until everyone walked out into the parking lot under the buzzing lot lights, until Addison was strapped into Kyle's car seat and Brittany was distracted, scrolling her phone. Then I asked my mum quietly, "Can we talk?" She immediately looked annoyed. "Not now. It's Addison's birthday." "It was now when you volunteered me," I said. Her eyes flashed. "Don't be dramatic." I felt my voice sharpen. "You told people I promised to pay for house repairs." "What repairs?" She blinked, then recovered. "Kyle's place has issues. The plumbing is acting up. And the roof. Kyle doesn't own a house," I said, stunned. My mum's mouth tightened. "He's going to..." That's when my dad walked up, keys in hand. "What's this?" he asked. My mum pivoted instantly. Performance voice on. "Nothing." I looked at my dad. "They're planning to buy a house." My dad hesitated too long. Then he said, "Well, we're trying to help them get stable." I felt dizzy. "And how does that involve me?" My mum's voice turned sweet and poisonous. "Because you can help with the down payment." "Down payment?" I stared at her like she'd lost her mind. "That's tens of thousands." She lifted her shoulders. "You have savings." "My savings are not the family savings," I said. My mum's face hardened. "So you're really doing this? You're really choosing money over your niece?" I stepped closer, voice low. "Stop using Addison like a shield. Kyle is an adult." Kyle walked up right then, hearing his name like a dog hearing a treat bag. "What's going on?" My mum jumped in. "Your sister is being difficult." Carl's expression shifted into anger instantly, like he was used to getting his way through intimidation. "Megan," he said, "we need that help. Mum said you'd do it." "I never said that," I replied. Brittany finally looked up, eyes cold. "You can't take it back now." Kyle already told the realtor. I felt my stomach flip. He told a realtor? My dad exhaled, like he was tired of me already. "Megan, they've started the process." They'd started the process, using my money without my consent. Something in me went very still. "Okay," I said quietly. Kyle sneered. "Okay, what? You're gonna act like a victim again?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "Okay means you're done using me." My mum's jaw dropped. "Megan, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene." I just said, calmly, "I'm not paying for anything else. Not rent, not bills, not repairs, not a down payment. Nothing." Brittany's face changed, first panic flickering under the attitude. Kyle's face flushed red. My mum recovered fast, voice slicing. "You can't do that." I nodded. "Watch me." Then I got in my car and left. And for the first time in years, I drove home without that familiar guilt sitting in the passenger seat. It didn't stay peaceful. Within an hour, my phone was lighting up like a fire alarm. "Kyle, what the hell is wrong with you?" "Mom, call me now." "Brittany, so you're abandoning a child." "Got it." I didn't reply. because I knew if I engaged, they'd drag me back into the same muddy pit where feelings were used as ropes. Instead, I opened my laptop. I'm an accountant. Numbers are my native language, and the moment my family turned love into obligation, I decided to speak back in the only language that cuts through denial: documentation. I pulled up my bank statements and searched my brother's name. Venmo transfers, Zelle payments, checks, temporary loans. Just this once. Money. 2 years of helping. Nearly every month. It was more than I'd admitted to myself because I didn't want to feel stupid. I made a spreadsheet. Date. Amount. Reason given. Whether it was repaid. Almost none of it was repaid. Then I calculated what I could have done with that money. Increased retirement contributions. Paid down my mortgage faster. Taken a real vacation. Built a bigger emergency fund. And I felt grief. Not for the money. For the years I spent believing love meant letting them drain me. The next morning, my mum showed up at my condo unannounced. Of course she did. Boundaries in my family were treated like insults. She knocked hard, 3 sharp hits like she was serving a warrant. When I opened the door, she walked in without waiting. Her eyes flicked around my living room like she was looking for proof I didn't deserve what I had. "You look fine," she said bitterly. "Hi to you too," I replied. She turned to face me and went straight for the throat. "Do you know what you did last night?" she demanded. "I stopped being your emergency fund," I said. Her face reddened. "Kyle and Brittany are panicking." "Good," I said. "Maybe panic will motivate them." My mum's mouth fell open, like she couldn't believe I'd said that out loud. "Listen to yourself," she snapped. "Who says that about their own brother?" I crossed my arms. "Someone who's been paying for him since college." My mum launched into the familiar speech. "Family helps family. You're blessed. You have a good job. You're stable. Kyle is struggling." I cut in. "Kyle is choosing. He's choosing not to keep a job. He's choosing to spend. He's choosing to rely on me." My mum's eyes sharpened. "So you hate him now?" "I don't hate him," I said. "I hate being used." She stepped closer, voice lower, more dangerous. "If you don't help them, they could lose everything." I met her stare. "They don't have anything to lose. They don't own a house. They're trying to buy one with my money." My mum's face twisted. "It's not your money in that sense." That sentence. That exact sentence. Something cold ran through me. "What sense?" I asked quietly. She waved her hand like I was being picky. "In the family sense. We raised you. We sacrificed. We made you who you are." I laughed once, short and humorless. "So, this is repayment." My mom hesitated. "Don't twist my words." "I'm not twisting anything," I said. "You just told me you feel entitled to my money. Because you're my mother." Her eyes flashed. "Because I am your mother." And there it was, plain as daylight. She didn't see my help as generosity. She saw it as debt. My mom softened suddenly, switching tactics. She reached for my hand. "Megan, honey, you're not a bad person. You're just stressed. We all are. But Addison needs stability." I pulled my hand back gently. "Addison needs parents who take responsibility." My mom's face hardened again. "So you're going to let her suffer to teach Kyle a lesson?" I took a breath. "Steady. I'm going to stop suffering to keep Kyle comfortable." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Then she said, with cold finality, "If you do this, you're going to tear this family apart." I nodded. "No, I'm just stopping you from tearing me apart." She stormed out, and the smear campaign started. Within days, I was the villain in every family group chat. My aunt texted, "Your mother is heartbroken." My cousin, "How could you do that to Addison? You think you're better than us." Brittany, "Addison is crying because she won't have her own room." Addison wasn't crying. She was 4. She cried when her juice box was empty, but they needed a story where I was cruel, because admitting the truth would mean admitting they'd been wrong. Then the real twist showed up, because in my family, entitlement always hides a deeper scheme. A week after I cut them off, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. It was a loan officer from a local credit union. "Hi, Megan," she said politely. "I'm calling to verify an application submitted using your information." My stomach dropped. "What application?" "For a personal loan," she said. 25,000. We just need to confirm a few details before proceeding." I couldn't breathe for a second. "I didn't apply." There was a pause. "Oh, okay. Then, we may need to flag this as potential fraud." My hands went cold. What information was used? She listed my address, my employer, my salary estimate, my social security number. My throat tightened. Who submitted it? We can't disclose that, she said carefully. But the co-borrower listed is Kyle Callahan. I felt like my body left the room. Kyle, my brother, they weren't just assuming my help anymore. They were trying to take it. I thanked the loan officer, hung up, and sat on my couch, staring at the wall like it might explain how someone can love you and still steal from you. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Brittany. So are you ready to stop being dramatic and do what's right? I stared at it, and something inside me went perfectly calm. Not numb, not resigned, focused. Because now, it wasn't about boundaries. It was about protection. That same day, I filed a fraud alert with the credit bureaus. I froze my credit. I pulled my credit reports. And there it was, the inquiry from the credit union. I also noticed something else. A soft inquiry from a mortgage lender 2 weeks earlier. 2 weeks earlier, before my mother's toast. Before the birthday dinner. Before the Megan promised lie. They'd been shopping my identity around like it was communal property. I didn't call my mum first. I didn't call Kyle. I called a lawyer. A calm woman in Kansas City named Dana Reynolds, who specialized in identity theft and financial abuse. She listened quietly while I explained. And then she asked, "Do you have proof you didn't authorize it?" "Yes," I said. "I have the call record. I have my credit freeze. I have a spreadsheet of what I've already paid for them. And I have texts where they talk about using my good credit, like it's a tool." Dana's voice stayed steady. "Then we document everything, and we make a report." A report. That word felt like betrayal and relief at the same time. Because I didn't want my brother arrested, but I also didn't want my life destroyed, because he couldn't accept the word no. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed childhood moments like film clips. Kyle borrowing my stuff without asking. Kyle breaking things and blaming me. My mum telling me to be the bigger person. My dad saying, "That's just Kyle." It wasn't just Kyle. It was everyone. They had built a family culture where Kyle could take and take and take, and I was supposed to call it love. The next day, my dad called. He sounded tired, like he was trying to keep the family from exploding. "Megs," he said gently, "can you just come over and talk? Your mum is upset." I almost laughed. "Mum is upset that I'm not paying. She's worried," he corrected. "No," I said. "She's worried she'll have to." Silence. Then my dad sighed. "Kyle made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill," I said. "A mistake is not applying for a loan using my identity." My dad's breath caught. "What?" So he didn't know. Or he was pretending not to. "I got a call," I said. "Kyle applied for a loan with my information." My dad's voice went sharp. "That's not true." "It is true," I said. "And I'm handling it legally now." His voice dropped. "Megan, don't do this." "Don't do what?" I asked. "Don't make this public," he whispered. There it was again. Always the same priority. Not my safety. Not accountability. Just, don't expose us. I felt my eyes sting. "Dad, he tried to steal from me." My dad swallowed hard. "He's desperate." I let the silence stretch for a beat, then said slowly, "Then he should be desperate enough to get a job." My dad's voice cracked with anger. "You don't understand what it's like to have a family depending on you." I laughed, bitter. "I understand exactly. I'm the only one who has." Then I hung up. 2 days later, my mum called from Kyle's number, because apparently they'd decided my boundaries were optional. I answered anyway, because part of me still hoped my mother would choose me for once. "Megan," she said, voice trembling like she was the victim. "Why are you doing this?" I kept my voice calm. "Why is Kyle applying for loans in my name?" She gasped, like I'd accused her of murder. "He wouldn't do that." "Then explain the credit inquiry," I said. She started crying. Real tears, or performance, honestly. I couldn't tell anymore. "He's scared," she sobbed. "He's under pressure. Brittany is freaking out." "Addison," I cut in. "Stop using Addison." My mum's crying stopped, like someone flipped a switch. Her voice went cold. "You've changed." "Yes," I said. "Because I finally noticed you only call me when you need something." She hissed. "That's not fair." I laughed quietly. "Fair?" "Mum, you announced to a restaurant that I'd pay for house repairs. You used my reputation, like currency." Her voice rose. "Because I believed you'd do the right thing." "The right thing for who?" I asked. Silence. Then she said, sharp and cruel, "For this family." There it was. The admission. I wasn't included in this family unless I was paying. I took a breath. Steady. I filed a police report for identity theft. She screamed, "You did what?" My hands trembled, but my voice stayed even. I'm not letting anyone destroy my credit. Not even Kyle. My mum's voice shook with rage. You're ruining him. No, I said. He ruined himself the moment he decided my life was his resource. Then she said the sentence that finally killed my remaining hope. If your brother goes down for this, then you're not my daughter. I felt the words land like a door slamming. My chest hurt, but my mind went clear. Okay, I said quietly. My mother breathed hard like she'd expected me to beg. Okay? Yes, I repeated. If your love is conditional on me funding Kyle, then you never loved me. You owned me. She made a sound, half fury, half disbelief, and I said the line that had been building in my throat for years. You don't miss me. You miss what I provide. Then I hung up. The fallout hit fast. My aunt posted a vague Facebook status about people forgetting family values. My cousin texted me. Mum is sick over this. Kyle left a voicemail full of rage, calling me selfish, calling me cold, calling me a traitor. Then Brittany sent me a message that finally exposed what this was really about. If you don't fix this, we'll tell everyone you promised the down payment, and then bailed. You'll look like a liar. You don't want that. Threats. They weren't just angry. They were trying to control the narrative. So I did something they never expected. I told the truth first. I didn't blast it online in a messy rant. I didn't call every relative to gossip. I invited my parents, Kyle, and Brittany to a meeting at Dana Reynolds' law office. A neutral place. A place with witnesses. A place where my family's favourite tactic, emotional chaos, wouldn't work as well. My dad tried to refuse. My mum tried to say I was being dramatic. Kyle texted, I'm not going to be interrogated. I replied, simple. Then you can speak to the police without me. They showed up. Of course they did. Because when consequences become real, people like Kyle suddenly remember appointments. Dana's conference room smelled like coffee and clean paper. A bowl of mints sat in the centre like a joke. My mother arrived first. Eyes swollen, mouth tight. My father looked older than I remembered, like he'd been carrying denial for too long. Kyle sauntered in like he owned the space, hands in pockets. Brittany trailing behind with her arms crossed, and her chin lifted like she was about to win an argument. Dana stood and shook everyone's hand politely, then sat. I opened my folder, and I slid my spreadsheet across the table. 2 years of payments, dates, amounts, reasons. Then I slid the credit report printout. The loan inquiry, the mortgage inquiry. Kyle's face changed fast, because for the first time, the conversation wasn't feelings. It was evidence. Dana spoke calmly. Megan has already filed a report. We are here to resolve this without further escalation, if possible. But understand, identity theft is serious. Kyle scoffed. I didn't steal anything. I turned to him. Then explain why your name is attached to a loan application using my information. Brittany snapped. We were just trying to figure things out. You're being extreme. I looked at her. Extreme is thinking you can borrow my identity, like a sweater. My mum's voice trembled. Megan, please, we can talk about this privately. Dana smiled politely. This is the appropriate setting. My dad cleared his throat. Kyle, did you do it? Kyle's jaw tightened. Then he did what he always did. He tried to blame me. I was going to pay it back, he snapped. But Megan freaked out like always. I leaned forward, voice steady. You didn't ask. You didn't tell me. You tried to take. Kyle slammed his palm on the table. Because you were never going to help. You act like you're above us. Dana's voice stayed calm. Mr. Callahan, yelling does not change documentation. Brittany cut in, eyes flashing. You don't understand what it's like having a kid. Megan has no idea what real pressure is. I turned to Brittany slowly. Pressure is paying for your life, while you insult me. My mum burst into tears again. This is tearing us apart. I finally looked straight at her, and said, low and clear, Mum, you tore us apart the moment you decided my only value was what I could give. The room went still, not quiet like a movie. Still like a truth. Finally landing. Then Dana asked the only question that mattered. Are you willing to sign an agreement acknowledging the unauthorized applications, repaying the money Megan has provided as loans going forward, and ceasing all use of her personal information? If not, we proceed legally. Kyle's face tightened. He glanced at my parents, like he expected them to save him. My dad looked down. My mum whispered, Kyle. Kyle scoffed. So you're making me sign a contract like I'm a criminal? I didn't blink. If you don't want to be treated like one, stop acting like one. Brittany sneered. Megan, you're doing this to punish us. No, I said. I'm doing this to protect myself. Dana slid the paper forward. Kyle didn't touch it. Instead, he leaned toward me and hissed. You think you're so smart? You think you're untouchable? I met his stare. I'm not untouchable. I'm just finally done being touched by you. My mother made a small, broken sound. My dad finally spoke, voice rough. Kyle, sign it. Kyle snapped his head toward him. Are you serious? My dad's eyes were tired. Yes. Kyle looked at my mum, expecting her to defend him. My mum hesitated just a beat too long. That hesitation was new. That hesitation was the first crack in her loyalty to the golden boy. Kyle stood up hard, chair scraping. This is ridiculous, he spat. Fine. If Megan wants to destroy her own family, then do it. He stormed out. Brittany followed, throwing a look over her shoulder like a curse. My mother sobbed. My father put his head in his hands, and I sat there, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not guilt, but freedom. The legal process moved forward anyway, because Kyle didn't sign the agreement, because he thought consequences were something that happened to other people. The credit union flagged the application. The police investigation continued. Dana helped me submit documentation. My credit was protected before any loan could be issued. Thank God. Kyle tried to spin it. He told relatives I was overreacting and trying to control him. Brittany posted vague quotes about toxic family, but the truth has a way of surfacing when paperwork exists. Then, 3 weeks later, my dad showed up at my condo alone. No mum, no Kyle, no performance. He stood in my doorway, holding a manila envelope like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Megs, he said quietly, can I come in? I stepped aside. He didn't look around this time. He just sat on my couch, like an exhausted man, and rubbed his hands together. I didn't know about the loan, he said, voice breaking. I swear I didn't. I nodded slowly. I believe you. His eyes filled. Your mum. She knew he was trying to use your credit. She didn't know the details, but she knew he was planning something. My stomach tightened, and she didn't stop it. My dad shook his head, ashamed. She kept saying it was just paperwork, that it would all work out. Just paperwork. The same phrase that's ruined so many lives. He slid the envelope toward me. This is everything we have. Copies of texts Kyle sent. Brittany's messages. Notes your mum wrote about what you could cover. I stared at him. Why are you giving this to me? My dad swallowed. Because I'm done pretending this is normal. My throat tightened. He looked at me with a kind of grief that finally felt like it was for me, not for the family image. I'm sorry, he whispered. We made you the responsible one because it was easier than making Kyle responsible. Tears stung my eyes. But I stayed steady. I needed you to choose me, I said. My dad nodded, tears falling. I know. Then he said the sentence I never thought I'd hear from him. I told Kyle he has to move out. I blinked. What? My dad wiped his face. Your mum fought me, Brittany screamed. Kyle threw things. But I told him, we are not losing our daughter because he refuses to grow up. My chest hurt. Not in a painful way. In a healing way. Like something that had been broken for a long time was finally being set right. What happens now? I asked. My dad exhaled. Now Kyle has to figure it out. Like an adult. And he did, because reality doesn't negotiate. Kyle and Brittany couldn't buy a house. Without my credit, without my money, without my mother promising Megan will help. They had to live inside their own choices. They moved into a smaller apartment. Kyle took a job at a warehouse, not because he suddenly discovered ambition, but because he needed rent paid. Brittany went back to work more consistently. They were mad at me for months. They still tried to paint me as cold. But the thing about boundaries is this. When you enforce them, people reveal exactly how much they benefited from you not having them. My mother didn't speak to me for a while. She'd send occasional texts, like, I hope you're happy, and I wouldn't respond, because happiness wasn't something I owed her anymore. Eventually, after the dust settled, after Kyle stopped being the center of every emergency, my mum showed up at my door one Sunday afternoon. She looked smaller than I remembered. No makeup, no performance. Just my mother, holding a bag of muffins like an offering. I don't know how to talk to you anymore, she said quietly. I didn't let her jump ahead. Start with the truth, I said. Her lips trembled. I was scared, she whispered. Scared Kyle would fail. Scared Addison would suffer. And I used you because you were steady. I nodded. And you punished me for being steady, she cried. I didn't mean to, but you did. I said. She swallowed. I'm sorry. It wasn't a magic fix. It wasn't a movie ending. But it was something real. I told her we could rebuild slowly, if she respected my boundaries, and stopped treating me like the family's ATM. And if she couldn't, then we wouldn't. Because love that only exists when you're useful isn't love. It's extraction. A year later, my life is calmer than it's ever been. I still see Addison. I take her to the park sometimes. I buy her books and art supplies, not because I'm obligated, but because I choose to be part of her life in a way that doesn't erase mine. Kyle still resents me sometimes. He still calls me uptight when I won't bail him out. And every time he does, I feel grateful, because it means the old system is dead. My boundaries didn't ruin my family. They revealed it. And then, they gave me the chance to build something healthier whether my family joined me or not. The lesson I wish I'd learned earlier is simple. You can love people deeply and still say no. And if saying no makes them hate you, they weren't loving you. They were living off you.